Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Batman issue 45. This is from the 2016 Rebirth series, and it is written by Tom King with art by Tony Daniel, ink assists by John Livesey, Tomei Moriu on color, Clayton Cowles letters, and the editor was Jamie Rich. Now the book opens with Hal Jordan committing suicide. We don't find out until much later that he was under the influence of Joker gas or something. Okay, so that happened. Then we see Tim Drake is working in an engineering department. Okay, we see the broken bat signal, and Booster creates one out of Skeets' shadow. And then Batman shows up, but it's not Bruce Wayne, it's Dick Grayson, and he's got a lot of guns and stuff. We don't really know what's going on with that. Then we see Jason Todd runs a tire shop that created Todd Tire Tase, which is very similar to the car defense system in RoboCop, where it electrocutes you if you try and mess with it. And then Skeets and Booster have some stupid argument for a while, and Batman tries to grab Booster, and that's when they discover the truth. Then we see Duke Thompson, and he's had like a lobotomy, and he's drooling, and I don't know. And then Bruce Wayne is dancing with his mom. Booster Gold jumps through a window, sending glass everywhere on these unsuspecting people, and goes, "Hey, Batman! Yeah, that's what you do to your secret identity. Good job." So Booster Gold's effectively like special needs in this book, and we cut over to Talia and Ra's al Ghul sword fighting, and she says there's no heir, there never will be, so Damian Wayne doesn't exist in this universe. And then Booster explains to Batman that he went back in time to save his parents to let him see what life would be like if they had lived, and he did that as a wedding gift. What a horrible thing to do to him, and not to mention all the violations of the timeline that you're committing there, so the Time Masters are going to be very unhappy with you. Well, then Batman's like, I always knew something was wrong, and then he bashes Skeets with a fireplace poker, then's like, Alfred, I'll show you the way out, and that's where it ends. It was dumb. It was really dumb. I'll give Tom King credit, this one actually had some dynamic moments where somebody dressed like Batman did stuff. It wasn't Bruce Wayne, it was Dick Grayson, but they still did stuff. And there was some thing where like there's a bunch of Jokers running around, kind of like the Joker's gang from Batman Beyond. So really what Tom King did was took a bunch of ideas from other books and media and just kind of jammed it into this under this ludicrous pretense that Booster Gold goes back in time to keep the Waynes from dying so that Bruce could see what he's missing. What a monstrous thing to do. And Booster Gold is treated like a complete idiot here. Like, he's always been kind of an arrogant show off, but he was never portrayed as being this stupid, at least not to my knowledge. I have a little bit of problem with this. It's pretty dumb. It's really silly. I don't think that Tom King really bothered to do anything in the way of research on the characters, especially Booster Gold, because they don't feel like they normally would. And I understand this is supposed to be an alternate reality, but I don't know. It's pretty terrible. So I don't much care for it. So far, this storyline's awful. I was hoping it would get better with this storyline, but this issue was terrible. I don't recommend it. It was better than the previous storyline, I'll give you that, but I'm not real impressed with it. So that being said, that'll do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing so you never miss a future review, and we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Batman issue 46. This is part 2 of The Gift, featuring Booster Gold. Script by Tom King, Tony S. Daniel art, Sandu Florea inking assists, Tomeu Mori color, sorry I butchered that, Clayton Cowles letters, and Jamie S. Rich was editor. Once again, this is another issue where Batman's a side character in his own book. So we've got Booster Gold freeing Selina Kyle from Arkham Asylum, and under the brilliant premise that despite all the changes in the universe and her being in a straitjacket, she's obviously attractive enough to wake Bruce up into being a hero. I don't know how that logic plays out, but apparently Booster Gold had some severe traumatic brain injuries on top of him being special needs. And this story takes place a year after the last issue. Booster Gold goes into over-explaining mode while Selena just sits around being bored saying meow. She doesn't say anything beyond that the entire issue. Thomas Wayne has a heart attack, but he seems like he's going to be okay. Booster Gold talks like a Disney Channel teenager for a while, and then gives Catwoman a Michelle Pfeiffer-inspired costume, and we learn that all of the Justice League died without Batman there. And Jason Todd is arrested for a bunch of deaths because of that tire thing that he created. Then Batman shows up to try and take out Catwoman and Booster Gold, but it doesn't work because Booster Gold gets her out of there and uses his shield. Then he takes her over to Wayne Manor so that he can introduce them, and they'll fall in love immediately because that's how relationships work. And of course, Selena goes on a brutal killing spree. Batman shows up, kills a few people, then gets killed himself by Bruce Wayne of all people. And then everybody appears to be either unconscious or dead, and that's how the issue ends. It's it's something. This was a little bit better than most of the books that Tom King has done that I've looked at. Probably his best one so far, but it's needlessly brutal. Again, Booster Gold is essentially mentally ill or mentally retarded. Everybody else is pretty much going to die. And yeah, this was just, it was a pretty horrific issue if you just kind of wandered in and didn't know what was going on, because they don't really recap anything. So if you just jumped in here, you'd have no idea what's going on or why all these people are dying. This whole storyline is pretty stupid. I don't like how Batman is a side character in his own book consistently. I don't like the way Booster Gold is handled like a teenage Disney star. I'm going to say this is a pass for me again, unfortunately. I really want this to pick up and be a Batman book, but so far it's not. But that'll do it for me. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss future reviews, and we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Batman issue 47. This is part 3 of The Gift, and it starts off with Bruce Wayne shooting at standees of Catwoman and Batman, and he's got Booster Gold chained up in the Batcave, or what would have been the Batcave if Booster hadn't gone back in time to change things. And Booster Gold is standing around seemingly insane, talking about himself. This mess was written by Tom King with art by Tony S. Daniel, inks by Tony Daniel, Danny Miki, and Sandra Floria. Editor was Jamie Rich. Associate editor was Brittany Holzner. Bruce Wayne is forcing Booster to take him back in time to stop his father's death, and he gets Booster all cleaned up, and he's repaired Skeets for the most part, and they end up going back in time, not to when this Bruce Wayne wanted to go, but further back to Crime Alley. Booster's plan is to stop himself from altering the past so that Bruce Wayne's parents actually do die, and it's kind of a convoluted mess. So there's 2 boosters now because the first one shows up, realizes that this one's here to stop him from doing it, and then the noise from the battle gets Thomas and Martha Wayne to divert down Crime Alley to avoid what they think might be an incident, and that ends up getting them shot. Old Bruce Wayne sees young Bruce Wayne seeing this, and he kills himself right in front of Booster. And Booster Gold is explaining all this to real Batman and Catwoman, and I don't know why you would ever tell anyone that you did this, but he's trying to get the smudges off his goggles, and it's not working, and he's all disturbed about it. This is sociopathic. Only a crazy person would have done any of this. Booster Gold comes off like a psycho through the entire thing, and in the first issue he watched Green Lantern kill himself, and he kind of got off on it. So why he's upset about seeing Wayne do it is beyond me. The whole thing is just bad storytelling. It's one of those stories that makes heroes look bad, and Booster Gold wants nothing more than to be a hero. I don't think he would subject his friends to this kind of torture where he goes back in time and shows them the life they could have had. It's horrifically evil. I think the portrayal of Booster Gold is awful. The fact that he would go back and tell Batman and Catwoman that he did this is psychotic. Batman would lock him up in Arkham for this. This this is psychotic. So I didn't like this story. I thought the whole thing was just crapping on Booster Gold and telling this really depressing story of what Batman could have had, just like the story of Superman that they did with Booster Gold, but that was done much better and handled with more maturity, and Booster Gold didn't act like a creepy lunatic in that one. I don't think that I would recommend this issue or even this entire Tom King run. Every issue is just more and more depressingly painful to read and disturbing on some level. I think Tom King may have some personal issues to work with that he needs to see someone about, because this reads like a really, really disturbing therapy journal. I thought the Captain America work by Mark Waid was creepy. This is so much worse. So I'm really hoping to just get through the next several issues, and I really hope they get better. This was not something I'm happy I read. This is not something I would ever recommend. That being said, that'll do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you like the video, give a thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss any future reviews. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at issue 48 of Batman. This is from the 2016 Rebirth storyline, and this one is The Best Man Part 1. It's mostly a Joker story. He's taken some hostages and killed a bunch of people at a wedding at a church, really big cathedral. Okay, so this is written by Tom King with art and cover by Mikhail Janin, June Chung on colors, Clayton Cowles letters, Frank Cho did the variant cover, and Jamie S. Rich was the editor, with Brittany Holzer associate editor. I do like the cover. The story is a bit of a rambling mess, but it's definitely one of Tom King's better issues. I thought the Joker was done pretty well, except he rambled on at the mouth way too much. Like, it could have been condensed down into a half an issue, but it wasn't too bad. It was mostly Joker threatening to kill himself or Batman at any given time. Then he sets off a bomb, and Batman appears to be unconscious, and Joker's gonna pull the trigger, but don't worry, Catwoman's on her way to save him, because Batman is the most incompetent superhero ever, because his girlfriend might as well be Batman. The issue was pretty good, and it was so far my favorite of the Tom King issues, and that is really sad, because overall it's actually just a mediocre issue, but for Tom King, it's one of his better ones. So would I recommend it? Yeah, if you find it for $1.50 or $2, yeah, I would say it's worth that. It was a pretty decent story. The art is really good, I thought. So I was real impressed with the artist in this issue. He could draw Batman really well in this one when he tries. And good use of shadow and lighting in here. Colorist did a fantastic job with that. A pretty decent issue. I'd call it mediocre, but for what the travesty of Batman books has been lately, I would say it was a good issue. So I would actually recommend this one. It was definitely one of Tom King's better issues in my opinion. And that's really all I have to say on it. But that is, of course, just my opinion. And as always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up. Sorry this was a short one. And consider subscribing so you don't miss a future episode. And we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Batman issue 49. This is the Best Man finale. Tom King on script, Michael Janin art and cover, June Chung color, Clayton Cowles letterer, Stanley Art Germ Liu on variant cover, Brittany Holzer associate editor, Jamie Rich editor. So Batman's down in the rubble somewhere and Joker's standing around talking to Selina. Well, they shoot at each other and reminisce about old times and reference like the 60s style show and comics of that era. And they end up hurting each other. Selina gets shot and Joker gets whipped across the throat. And then there's a long drawn out talking about really nothing. It's a bunch of fluff. It's another drama piece where it's treated like a soap opera. So we have these long conversations about Penguin's umbrella. Selina tells him a joke. Joker tells her some nonsense. And they debate Edward Nygma's theory on Joker being sane but pretending to be crazy. Well, eventually Joker gets up and reloads his revolver, and he points his gun at Selina, but isn't able to shoot her before falling over. And Batman is not in this issue at all. This is not a Batman book. This is a Catwoman book. Again, another Catwoman story. Batman in the last page is heard talking off screen, and he says some gibberish that really is completely out of character. Selina laughs, and it's the end of the issue. Now, all they really established in this issue is that Joker thinks that Batman can't be happy or he won't be Batman anymore. That's really the crux of what this entire issue was getting at, and it took a really long time to get there. As a character piece, it's pretty well done. As a Batman comic book, it's horrible. This is not a Batman comic. This is a Catwoman issue that is written like a soap opera. This is a special episode of a soap opera. That being said, as a Batman adventure, I thought it was really lame because Batman is not even seen in the entire issue, and his girlfriend has to save him yet again. So I'm not going to recommend this one if you're a Batman fan. If you're a Catwoman fan, yeah. If you're looking for like how to do vignettes or other slice of life storytelling, this was pretty good for that. This was a technical writing class adventure. I would say it's not really an adventure because there's barely any real action in it. The art is very good, I thought, even though some of the images look traced from Google. If you can find it for like $1, pick it up. But if you're looking for an action adventure story like most people who buy Batman, don't bother. It's a waste of your time and money. So that being said, overall, as a Batman fan, I'm not going to recommend this. This is just serialized soap opera boringness. It really doesn't fit with Batman at all. It was definitely a Catwoman story, so I didn't care for it. I thought it was garbage, but that'll do it for me. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss future reviews, and we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Batman issue 50. This is the wedding issue from the Rebirth storyline. I don't know why it's called the wedding issue, as you'll see, because I'm going to ruin this book for you, because it was awful. This was a tragic mess of proportions I cannot begin to describe. This was written by Tom King, colors by June Chung, art and cover by Mikhail Janin, with a lot of other people doing pinup art in here. So there's a real simplistic story in here, and that's Batman and Catwoman decide to have the wedding on a rooftop, which is dumb. They're not getting married as their regular personas, they're getting married as their superhero identities, but in plain clothes. Okay, that's stupid. Catwoman is getting Holly Robinson out of Arkham Asylum. Holly is someone that Batman saved early in his career, and interspersed throughout this are little vignettes of things that happened, like we see Batman and Catwoman fighting Tweedledee and Tweedledum, but there's also these big one-page spreads with all this little text caption boxes where they've written letters to each other like teenage girls. In the meantime, Catwoman and Batman are each preparing for the wedding. They each need a witness. Catwoman has Holly Robinson, and Batman just randomly chooses Alfred. So he's just like, all right, well, you're here, and then, you know, maybe Tim Drake was busy or something. And they're getting ready and all that, and then we get this interspersed poetry crap, and then they decide to kind of move things along. They go to the site, but Holly is talking to Catwoman and saying, oh, if he's happy, can he really be Batman? Which is the same thing Joker said previously. So when Batman gets up to Finger Tower, because all these places are named after people that worked on the Bat books, like she's at Kane Plaza and he's at Finger Tower, and she doesn't show up, so Batman just jumps off the building, and that's where the issue ends. It looks like he committed suicide. Is this the last Batman book to ever be made? Like, did he just commit suicide? The world may never know. And he went in plain clothes with a judge who may be drunk, but he took Alfred with him. And I don't understand, they did this thing several times throughout the series so far, where they're using their real world names while in costume fighting bad guys. And Batman's talking to Alfred, who should have a code name by now. He keeps saying Alfred, so, you know, everybody knows that he's got somebody named Alfred. How many people named Alfred are there in the city? That would be pretty easy to figure out. But everybody seems to know Batman's identity anyway. But the trick is, and this big spoiler alert, because most of this story was already spoiled by the New York Times, this whole thing was really a plan by Bane, and and several other Arkham inmates, including the Joker, the Riddler, some guy that looks like Thomas Wayne from an alternate universe, Hugo Strange, the ventriloquist, and some other people that I don't really care about, a bunch of minor leaguers. The poetry thing where they're writing this letter, oh my gosh, it was horrible. It was so bad. It was like I think Tom King must be related to or know a 12-year-old goth girl with depression issues, because it read so cheesy like that. Like, I understand you went to a goth night and you like sad, lonely girls, but wow. Oh man, what a mess. This was just so poorly written. And not only is it a massive slap in the face, because they've been hyping this wedding for a year. I don't understand why you would turn around and backhand your readers like this. This was just straight up insulting. It was horribly written, and this epilogue felt very thrown together. Like, oh, suddenly now it's a plan by Bane. Okay, whatever. And the fact that they leaked it to the New York Times and let them ruin the issue before it even came out tells you exactly how much DC cares about its fan base. They totally pulled all the wind out of the sails of this issue and the motivation to buy it, because now you know it was just another trick, the same thing that the X-Men did. It was just a slap in your face. They have no respect for you as a reader. They have no respect for the characters, and they think that Batman can't exist while being happy. First of all, that's stupid, because fighting crime makes him happy, and he can do that in other ways. He doesn't have to be Batman. You could be Batman in different ways. He could let Dick take over and be an advisor or something. He had been married before in the 70s when they did these stories of like Earth 1, Earth 2. On Earth 1, Batman was married and was married to Batwoman. So this has been done before, and they built this up only to turn around and slap you in the face with it and say, haha, sucker. To me, this is sort of the DC version of what Nick Spencer did to Captain America, because they promised you something new and different and then made it new and different in a bad way. I think this was very, very insulting to the fans, and I think that Tom King should be fired for a litany of reasons. This kind of rude stunt is exactly why people are walking away from comics. The writing was terrible, the plotting was terrible, the ending was ridiculously stupid, the epilogue was just as dumb, and it shows a fundamental misunderstanding of the character, and for what I paid to read it, nothing happened. Literally nothing happened for $5. What a waste of money. I am not going to buy another Tom King Batman book, and once Mr. Miracle is done and I'm caught up on that, I may drop that one even. I'm probably never going to read another Tom King book, because not only is he boring, it's insulting the way he treats the fans doing a stunt like this, because this was sheerly a cash grab. They produced all these miniseries and extra books about this, and it just doesn't happen. They just randomly decide we're not going to do this because we don't want Batman being happy. So you picked up all those Prelude books, like I did, which I regretted instantly upon reading them. But you bought all those Prelude books, and they were $4 each, and then they pulled this nonsense, and then it doesn't even happen? That's insulting. I don't know what Detective Comics are like right now. Maybe I'll read that. I could get caught up on that. I've got a stack of them here I haven't read yet. But the main Batman book? No, this is ridiculous. This is a slap in your face. This is an insult to the fans that were loyal and bought every issue leading up to the wedding, all the tie-ins. You know what, DC? Not only is that rude and insulting, it's a great way to ruin your business and make sales go down. I hope people protest this. I'm not going to buy Batman 51. I had put it on my list, but I'm going to take it off now. I'm not going to buy another Batman book as long as Tom King is on the book. This is just over the edge. This is way too much. They've gone way too far with it. He's written a terrible, terrible Batman, and this is just the capstone on this monumental failure of a title and a writer. I don't know what Tom King's thinking. I don't know what DC's thinking by approving this after all the tie-ins. This is insulting, and I'm not going to support this anymore. That being said, that's just my take on it. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss future episodes. If you want to help the channel out, Patreon link is in the description, and we hope to see you on the next one.